In a studio that's in a basement comes the epic story of how two friends changed the future of the movie podcast game forever. The reviews are in. Boys Life magazine gives the High Sci podcast 4.5 acorns. The Daily Bugle says, these guys are super legit. And Pope Francis declares the podcast as life-affirming. From the kid who tried to get smart with David Spade and got fucking old.
You're still out. You're still back.
And the guy who can name all four Baldwin brothers.
Alec, William, Daniel, and the baby boy, Stephen.
Live from the studio of his parents' basement. The Have You Seen It podcast.
Welcome back to the Have You Seen It podcast. My name is Mason Knight, and sitting across from me is the one and only Cash Kraus. Cash, how are you this fine day?
Oh, I'm doing pretty good. Good to be back.
Yes, it is.
Good to be back in a new, fresh studio.
New and improved. That's
New
for
and
sure.
improved. Although
Yeah.
this episode won't come out until
next week. Yeah. So people
so
are
this
like,
will technically this is our very first episode in the
yes.
studio, but
Yep.
it won't come out.
and today is Monday, but this won't come out for 10 days.
Yes,
Because it'll be Thursday of next week. So
Yeah.
sorry, YouTube. Sorry, podcast.
but
people.
it's good to be back.
Yes,
we
it
took
is.
a little break,
We did.
but
And one thing that, like, with this podcast is we've been very consistent over the last 2 or 3 years. So it was a little challenging for us to not meet up for over a week.
yeah, I know
was like-
it sucked. Yeah,
It did suck because this is just so routine for us now where we just get together, we talk about movies, television, do some trailer reactions, make some jokes.
And normally
I was having a little bit of withdrawals.
normally I watch a movie and I'm like, okay, now I'm ready to go talk about it.
Uh-huh.
But all last week I was watching movies and I couldn't go and talk about it to anyone. So it was
It's unfortunate.
It was pretty bad. But it's good to be back.
We got some catching up to do,
We
too.
do have some catching up to do. But new studio.
Yeah.
We got it. It feels good though. It's new, but
does.
it feels. I mean, because we bounced around a lot.
We have. I don't think. Oh yeah, we started. It is very poetic because we started in this room
Yeah.
with nothing. I think you were sitting on the bed.
Yes,
This
I
used
was.
to be the
yes,
bedroom, yeah.
No chairs back then. We couldn't
No
afford
chairs, nothing.
any seats.
Yeah, we were pretty nothing.
How far we've come. We got
yes.
these luxury recliners, lazy boys.
Very nice. Very
nice.
They're
but
not
yeah.
that nice, guys.
But it sucked because it was right during October when the renovation started. So that's our month.
Yep.
We love horror films, so that is our month to get all of our horror film
Out of the way.
fixing in. And so we came back. We started back with because this is our throwback theater.
Yes, it is.
Starting with a heavy hitter, a
This one
horror
is-
icon.
It is an iconic film. It's definitely a cult classic.
Yeah, An American Werewolf in London, the 1980 film, horror comedy directed by John Landis is what we are reviewing / talking about for our Throwback Thursday. Have you seen American Werewolf in London?
I've seen it one time before this, so this was my second viewing of this film.
Really?
Yes,
yeah.
yeah.
This is one of my favorite films. I almost had to go back and make sure we haven't reviewed it before. Because I'm surprised I haven't brought this up before.
I know.
It was between this and I really wanted to review Lost Boys.
Lost Boys is great.
I really wanted,
love Lost
but
Boys.
I couldn't find it streaming on eBay. So we might just have to bite the bullet and rent that.
Right.
You know.
Well,
That
that's what we do here.
That money goes straight to Kiefer Sutherland. It's not that. It's not all that bad. But so we are doing American Werewolf in London. Very, very heavy hitter. Is become very famous over the years. Mostly, for the comedy, but mostly it's known for nowadays for its makeup and special effects.
And it was the first film in 1981 to receive the best makeup for the Academy Awards.
Yeah, well,
It was the first year.
the Academy it was the award was invented in 1981 after Outrage when the Elephant Man came out in 1980 and they had to do all the prosthetics for Anthony Hopkins. So they were so mad that there was no award for that they made.
You guys won the award for 1980, even though it did not exist.
Yeah, exactly.
You won the
Yeah, that's
award,
what
and
we're
everyone knows you
But
did.
still, you want the trophy.
Of course.
You don't want
the
you don't want
gold.
just some guy saying, yeah, technically you won it.
Yeah, you know.
You want the proof, but But yeah, this is, of course, done by makeup special effects god Rick Baker, who has, he's special effects royalty. He's just Hollywood royalty because he has 7 Oscars.
Yep.
Not a lot of people, unless you're Meryl Streep,
Right.
have 7 Oscars.
Well, and Michael Jackson, too, was so, grossed out and astonished by the makeup effects in this film that he hired him and everyone who was a part of this film to do Thriller.
Yes, well, John Landis,
1983.
who is an amazing director, one of my favorite, directed Blues Brothers, Coming to America, Trading Places,
National Lampoons,
Animal House. So many amazing films. But you could tell when you're watching Thriller, this Thriller feels like an offshoot of American Werewolf in London, just because it's all the exact same people, same special effects,
same style of makeup too.
Absolutely,
even with the eyes and the change, you can tell a lot is the same.
Yeah, you can almost say it's probably in the same universe and it's fucking if you haven't seen Thriller, it's probably the greatest music video, 30 minutes
of all
long.
time. Yeah, it's really good though. I mean,
it's a full movie.
Yeah,
it is a full fucking movie, but it is a fever dream, just like American Werewolf is.
Yes.
It's fucking nuts. 1981. It's the cocaine's running like water.
rampant.
Blues Brothers came out right before or a little bit after this, I think, and that was the budget went to 50% was a cocaine budget. So these movies, man, with the werewolf Nazis and all that, one of my favorite scenes.
Pretty scary too.
Oh yeah, man, that's the thing. This film is hilarious.
It is hilarious.
So damn funny that you can almost it's regarded as a horror comedy, but if it wasn't so fucking scary, you could just call it a straight up comedy.
Yeah.
But it is terrifying at times. But a big part of that is the special effects.
It is.
And I guess the first part we can talk about is I guess the transformation, because that's the most famous.
It is.
It's so ahead of its time.
Yeah.
It's incredible that
It really
took
is.
place in 19. Because it's, some films you can go back and, they're dated a little bit. Especially films with early CGI. Those films are always dated.
This one holds up.
It feels like a film that was made in like the mid 90s to me for some reason. Because it's just, it looks, and think about E.T. came out a year after this.
Yeah.
And E.T., it's great. It doesn't look nearly as fucking. E.T. is Play-Doh and chicken wire. So for this to come out before E.T. and look this good, it blows my mind.
When I was really looking too for all of it, because I haven't seen this movie in years, honestly.
And
I
they
was
want
really
you
looking.
to. Because it's shown in full light. It's not shown in the darkness like every other transformation or anything is ever shown.
Yep.
The director is inviting you. He's saying, look at every detail to make it, and it makes it that much more excruciating, that transformation scene. It looks fucking painful.
It looks awesome.
And that, in my mind, is always how a werewolf was transferred. I always thought that it'd be fucking very painful, for your bones to grow and whatnot. But that's why I love this film.
And it is insane too, early 80s, that they're able to do that, and so convincingly too. And it wasn't like the director John Landis said that he initially thought that he showed too much of it, but then he got like a standing ovation or an applause, whatever, during that 7-second transformation where he's literally just showing it the whole time.
Yeah.
But as you said before, it completely and utterly holds up. It looks phenomenal.
It does. It does
blow me away.
And it's not too much.
No.
It could, but I know Rick Baker was mad that, he spent years probably making this transformation. And he was mad that they only showed 7 seconds.
I know.
So him and John Landis were really kind of going at it because both of them had different ideas. Because of course, if you're a makeup artist, you want your creation up there as long as possible. But you got to think what's best for the movie,
right?
And it's perfect for what they did.
It is.
That transformation scene. It's not very long, but it just seems like it's a very, very long time because of how painful and the screams, the agonizing pain that he's letting out.
Well, let's
It
talk
looks like
about
he's getting
this,
stretched.
too. The gore holds up.
Oh, it's
The
so
gore
bloody.
looks phenomenal. The blood looks great. The prosthetics,
Well, just the brutality of this film it's surprising. I've seen this film
is.
so many times, and even going back and watching even that last scene when he's running through London, and people are getting ran over and fucking. It's brutal. I feel like you couldn't get away with it today. It would
Probably
have
not.
to. You would have to take all those all those scenes where it's showing like people getting ran over by the cars and just, it's not like cutting away. It's showing them fully get ran over and people flying through plain glass windows. And just the beginning of him getting attacked by the werewolf, you know, in the moors or whatever is fucking brutal scene.
Well, Jack's getting torn up too. And then initially, you know, David runs away.
Oh, he's gone.
He's like, oh no, Jack. And he comes back. It's too late, bro. He's all chewed up. He's gone.
God, yeah. But yeah.
That was something that they balanced really well in this film too, because it's so hard to do, is the comedy and horror elements. I thought they spliced it perfectly. Like, there were moments where I was laughing out loud in this film, and then other moments where I'm like, wow, this is fucking dark.
Yeah, well, at first
dark.
you're not really sure what kind of movie you're getting into, because it is very lighthearted when they're getting off the truck with the sheep and whatnot, and then it turns so quick. I love the scene when they go to the Slaughtered Lamb, which is just the best fucking bar name in the world.
It's pretty cool. Even the picture was cool, or the logo for the bar.
I've always said if I ever open a bar, I'd call it this fucking Slaughtered Lamb, because that is a great name. But yeah, that scene when they're, you know, when they ask them about the pentagram and then they kick them out, it turns so quick from like that jovial, all these kind of like, I guess you'd call them hicks, but it's North England, so I don't know what they call.
I don't know what they call them either, but
it's like the hicks
run of the mill.
Yeah, they're very salt of the earth kind of people. But yeah, it turns so quick from like him asking about the pentagram and then them like forcing them out, and it gets really tense really fucking fast when they're having the discussion of it's murder, and he's like, well, it's murder then, and they're talking about him just letting those guys leave just
knowing what's
just to
happen
protect their way of living. But yeah, I love that scene when they're going, that when the townsfolk are going back and forth and they're like, go,
and
go.
the lady
lady's like, go
bartender,
out.
yeah.
And the guy's like, I love before that though, I love the scene when the guy misses the
dart. Yeah.
I never miss the board. He's like, you get out of here. But yeah, I love that. I love the townsfolk. And I love the side plot of the doctor kind of having to go back there and trying to figure out like what
actually took place.
Yeah, and England is such a perfect setting for this kind of film. And there's just so much history, and even when you go to London, it's dark and it's moody. It's always overcast.
Well, and that's what John Landis wanted. So they shot this film between February and March.
Yeah,
because he wanted a forecast the whole time.
The moors, stay out of the moors. It's so good. You know, beware of the moon. I love it, and there's so much history that you don't know about.
And a small little detail too. Every song in this film and the soundtrack.
I don't know if it's a small detail.
Well, it is. It's a pretty obvious one, but it has the title "Moon" in the song. So every single
and there was a few songs he couldn't get.
I know, like probably "Moonlight Drive." I'm assuming for the Doors.
I don't know. I don't know if he. I know. The hardest name
was kind of an upbeat song.
A song he wanted from Cat Stevens, who now he's been Islamic, but he was transferring to Islam in the 80s, in the early 80s. So he refused to have any kind of his songs be played in any kind of supernatural or anything. So he couldn't. And Elvis Presley, he tried to get Blue Moon from Elvis Presley, and famously his manager never let anyone use his music, so he couldn't get that either. Yeah, which is shitty. But then they did get Bad Moon Rising from Creedence Clearwater.
Yeah, they did.
It's a big get.
That's a big song. Yeah,
but yeah,
that was the bedroom scene.
Yes, it is. Every song, has Moon in it for some reason. Although they didn't play "Werewolves in London" by Warren Zevon, a great song. The song is all about this fucking movie, but they couldn't play it because it didn't have Moon in the title.
Yep. So, you got to stick to your themes.
He stuck to his guns.
Yeah, you have to stick to your themes.
He had a very clear image of what the soundtrack, and the soundtrack is great though.
Yes, it is.
And it's not just like, you know, sometimes in movies, you know, they'll just play fucking songs because it has Moon in the fucking title. But all the music really works for all the scenes.
Ties in together. Yeah, absolutely.
Perfectly, for sure. But let's talk about the healthcare in the UK, man. Great fucking healthcare. Not only do they give you great medical, but they send you home with the hottest fucking nurse. You get to live with her for multiple days.
That's pretty nice. That's a lot better than our healthcare here. Yeah, no kidding. She's pretty forthcoming too.
Yeah, she's
like,
feeding you.
I've had 7 lovers.
It's nutty.
I've had 3 one-night stands, and you're going to be my 8th.
It's just night and day from our medical here.
It is.
Usually you get some guy. He's fucking heavy. It's some giant fucking
nurse.
Some guy. He's got the strongest hands you've ever
Stinks of
felt.
BO. He's worked a 16-hour
He's worked a
shift.
16-hour shifts for 8 days straight.
Got to give him a
this
little
guy's
grace
on,
there.
This guy's
Fortunately.
but he's not taking you home. He's not. He's not showering you.
He's not cooking meals for you.
He's not cooking you. He's not making you clean. He's not cleaning you
He's
on
not
all the
having
right
sex
spots.
with you.
No, he's not. Well, he might be, but it might be against your
will. Yeah.
In the reverse situation. But man, I couldn't believe that. It's great. It's great. And what a bombshell the nurse is.
Yeah, no kidding.
He got lucky.
He did.
I
He did.
can't
If your
imagine.
friend is going to get mauled to
I can't imagine London 1980 has that many beautiful fucking nurses walking around.
But I mean, he really did. He did strike gold.
Oh,
You know,
he
I
did.
mean,
My God.
Considering the circumstances, his friend getting slaughtered in front of him by a werewolf, he kind of lucked out here.
I know, and yeah, we got to talk about that. The actor Griffin Dune, who plays Jack.
Not Jack, but yeah, Jack. No,
Yeah,
you're
it's
right,
Jack, because David's the main guy.
David
but
is, yeah.
I love, again, the fucking, go back to the special effects and the makeup, but his state of decay.
Over and over.
And
Yes.
it's so funny, too. I mean, his character is hilarious, but it's, like you said, it's horrifying because the makeup is so fucking
It is
good.
really
And it
good.
would not, none of this would work out if the makeup wasn't so damn good. But just the evolution of his decaying until the very end when he's just nothing but a rotten fucking corpse.
And I got to be honest too. I was looking for continuity within the neck wound as well, even with the decaying flesh, and it panned out.
Rick
dude.
Baker, man.
It did.
He's
I
the
mean,
god.
really,
I know.
really well done.
It's just so good, and because it was all practical effects, this film is timeless. Had it been, I harp on CGI a lot.
Yeah.
But CGI dates it. You can go back to an early 2000s film, but you can go back to this film, and like I said, it feels like a film that was made 10 years ago, or something that was made recently.
In a lot of ways, like this transformation for me is a lot more horrifying. Like when he does transform, it's a lot more horrifying because it is, I don't know what it is with the old school practical effects, like when it's done really well, like an American Werewolf in London, where it's more horrifying to me if they can successfully pull it off than it is seeing a transformation in CGI, because I know it's computer generated,
Yeah.
So it's not.
And for me, I know the actor, say that would happen in a movie, he'd be looking at nothing and he'd be reacting to nothing.
Yep.
He would be, if it was the hand transforming, it'd be maybe his hand painted green or with a green skin, and then they put it in. So he's reacting to nothing, but him being there and seeing it, that hand move as it stretches out, it gives to the performance and it gives to the audience as well.
For sure.
It's amazing.
It is.
And these guys, everyone on this fucking set, I'm sure was miserable going to 5 hours of makeup every day.
Oh yeah. It's not the funnest thing I could imagine.
Oh no, especially Jack, who was fucking. I heard, and I remember even reading about this when I was younger, was that he psychologically he had some problems with it, seeing his body, seeing him decay.
Yes, he did. Yeah, because he was like, "Wow, that's my corpse mutilated and decaying."
And like, this is what it's gonna look like.
This is
exactly what I'm gonna look like dead. And John Landis, his advice for that character was, no matter what, always be really
Optimistic,
optimistic. And he had a real problem. He said,
absolutely.
but the character is it's such an interesting, like dark kind of like that character that guides you through this. But he's so dark where it's hilarious because he's just trying to get David to kill himself the entire time.
Well, and then one of my favorite scenes too, and it works just perfectly with the overarching story. But when they're in the porno theater,
and
he's introducing.
It's so funny.
He's introducing David to all the people that he slaughtered the night before.
It's so, and they all have different advice on how to kill himself.
Yeah, and it's
really
dark,
good. Great
but funny.
dialogue.
Great dialogue, yeah, because the one guy that he killed in the subway station, he's like, you left my wife a widow and my children fatherless. And that's dark, but it's funny because then you go to the couple that's the fiancés, they're married to each other.
Yeah.
And they're just kind of upbeat and giving him advice. And it's
and they're like, why don't you hang himself? And then Jack's like, no, it might be painful. And then the hobos are like, well, we don't care.
Yeah.
He's
like, yeah, my friend, I don't want him to suffer. Yeah.
And then, I love that Jack's like, well, back off, guy. He's like, he's still my friend. So you still get that instance that Jack still cares about David.
Of course, yeah.
But he knows that, these guys don't want to be fucking walking the earth as walking fucking
in limbo
corpse. And they're
sound like fun.
And they're continuing to rot. So they're not getting, the closure, whatever you have as dead people. But yeah, I love that scene of the porn. Why the porn is going on the entire time. And the porn is hilarious.
It is funny.
The
one guy walks in, he's like, hey, what are you guys doing?
Yeah, he's like, I told you. He's like, what do you never told me that. He goes, no, not you, her. He goes, she goes, I never met you in my life. He goes, oh yeah. And she just walks. You got the wrong room.
I know. This film was shot in sequential order, and this was the first day shooting.
Which is hilarious because we were just talking about One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest, and they did that for artistic reasons.
Yes.
They wanted it. This one is one of those films where it was not done for artistic. It was only done so Rick Baker would have enough time to get the effects down.
Yep.
So they shot that transformation scene really late. I think it was one of the last things they shot.
Yep.
So that was the only reason. It was not at all acting or wise or whatever. It was just purely. But that's funny because it goes either way. It's either, but almost never. Like we always talk about, it's never done in sequential order.
Never, not for films.
It's too difficult. Yeah. It's too difficult and too expensive. But for this one, they did it, and I think it worked out a lot because, especially for Jack's character. So he was decaying on the very, the last.
And that
day.
would suck too, as an actor, just seeing your body decay more and more.
Yeah, well, he said he's like, I had a real hard time being optimistic. It's like surprisingly very difficult.
There was another scene that Landis was very upset that he ended up taking out to get, I guess, an R rating. But one was that Jack was eating toast. And the toast fell through his throat, which I thought would have been hilarious. That would have been really funny.
It's that's just one of the weird thing that we bring up all the time, that the people who give the R ratings, it's they didn't have any problem with the gruesome, although they did make him cut the hobo scene out because I guess there was more
how about
footage
the
of that.
decapitation?
Yeah, but no, they didn't have any problem with that.
No problem.
But
you can cut heads off.
That, and I think they had to cut some of the porn scenes out.
Yes, they did.
Oh, and they had to make sure they didn't show David full frontal.
Well, we saw a little bit of dick.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. And he actually got fired from Dr. Pepper because he was the Pepper Man
I know. That's
back
how
in the 80s.
Yeah, and I've seen those commercials too before.
Yeah.
But that's how John Landis saw him. So, I mean, you gave up Dr. Pepper, but you become
an icon in a great
maybe he was
film.
upset about it, but I feel like
you're upset about it if you're not getting those residual checks anymore because those things pay off.
I could be the Pepper guy, or I can star in this really big film directed by one of the hardest. But I did hear he was upset about it.
Oh, yeah.
And I'm sure you got free Dr. Pepper probably for life, and they said, cut him off.
Cut him off. No more Dr. Pepper for that man. Probably good, though, and then he didn't become a diabetic.
Yeah, that we know of.
Well, that is true.
The Pepper could got it to him early.
It could have.
But yeah, I love this film.
One other interesting fact, what is it called? The Picella Circus. It's something real close to that. But the street that they use, it's a famous street in London. Mm-hmm. But the Piccadilly Circus.
Oh, yeah.
So, they hadn't filmed there in years. It had been forever. I think 12 years or something like that. But they liked what Landis had done so much that they gave him access and they shut it down. He had 2 takes to do them both in 3 minutes. And that's the only time they stopped traffic. But they gave him permits to be able to shoot there. Which is pretty cool that he was able to get all that done in 2
Yeah, I heard there was a few. Of course, you got to remember it's 1981, so there's a lot less restrictions and whatnot. Because I heard a few scenes were like, we got to do this in 1 take because we can't do this again.
Right.
And one of the scenes when he wakes up in the not the werewolf, but the wolf den at the zoo. Mm-hmm. He said the only assurance that David that's the actor who plays David Kessler, same name, so it can be confusing. It can be. Yeah, they said the only assurance he gave him with waking up with those wolves were that the wolves just ate. They weren't trained wolves at all. There was the zoo. And the zookeeper was like, no loud noises on set, no sudden noises, no sudden movements. So
And he agreed to do that. That's wild.
he agreed, and him jumping up and out. He said, dude, they can only do it in one take because he would never do it again.
No.
But he said, that was the only assurance was that the wolves just ate. They're fucking wolves.
They're
I feel like wolves
man.
can
they
eat
kill
no matter.
for fun too. I mean, they've been.
I know
known to do
dogs.
that.
Dogs will eat no matter what.
Yeah.
Even if they eat just eat, they'll eat no matter what. And wolves are the same way.
Yep.
But so that's what you got to kind of go. And he did have to run around naked. The zoo.
He did.
And I heard the filming went a little late, so the zoo opened up. And he was like, "Why is there so many extras? Why is there so many extras here?" He's like, "No, those are people here." So he had to run around naked.
That's hilarious.
But it's the 80s, man. No one cares.
And see, again, the comedy works for this film so well because the little boy who goes up to the mom afterwards, a naked American man stole my
Goes,
balloons.
"What did you say?
What?
You're lying again?" But I love that. The comedy is it still holds up.
Yes,
it's hilarious. You could tell there's a lot of it's scripted, but you can tell there's some improv too, but especially between David and Jack. You know, their relationship feels super organic.
And that's what I loved at the beginning, the very opening of this film was that dialogue between them talking about Debbie, you know, and how like he was
Debbie
trying to
Klein.
get laid. Yeah. And he was trying to get laid and they've been foreplay since the 8th grade. Like their chemistry worked
Nothing
really
mediocre
well.
about Debbie Klein's
Nope,
body.
Nothing mediocre.
She's just a dullard and a jackass. But yeah, I love that. And even them talking about the sheep and being like, "You have beautiful sheep" when they get off the...
That was improv, yeah.
Yeah, I love all those scenes. They felt like they were best friends.
They did.
They feel like they
really
were really
did.
good friends. But I like that a lot.
I also love the ending of this.
Yeah, it ends very suddenly.
It does, but I like that ending.
It's fitting.
A very fitting, for a werewolf film, especially when it's like, okay, it's over.
Yeah. Did you? I guess this was the second time, but were you surprised by the Nazi werewolf scene? I was shocked when I first got. I'm like, what is happening right now? Because he wakes up and I'm like, because it starts when he's at home, and I love that when he's at home and he's still just.
When then it comes out of the, you think he's awake, and then it comes out of the thing and stabs.
It stabs her.
Her over and over
it's
again.
So brutal. But when the Nazis bust through and just fucking mow down his family.
The first time I saw this was like well over a decade ago. And that scene terrified me. I'm not kidding, for like a week straight. Like that scene horrified me. It reminded me of that in Soldier Dogs or Dog Soldiers.
Dog Soldiers is another great werewolf.
That's what yes.
Yeah.
But both of these movies kind of like did the same thing to me as like a kid where it freaked me the fuck out.
Well, it just comes
for a long
out of
time.
fucking nowhere. He just has this fever dream that he's starting because he's starting to change. Yep. And he's just, why are they Nazis?
I guess it's just more terrifying.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's just so crazy. But it works, and it's almost funny, but it's not. Because it's so, and just because they're not done. I mean, they're done the makeup is done very seriously. So if it was cheesy or something, that seemed to be funny. But it's terrifying. And then the Nazis slitting his throat too. Yeah, and then it's awesome.
It is.
It'd be controversial, but I'd always wanted to go as a Nazi werewolf for Halloween. I think it'd be a fucking awesome.
Probably
if you got
these days with all the Halloween
but if you got
stuff.
I'm sure people have done it a lot for like cons, Comic Cons, stuff like that. But it'd be hard. You would have to get a really good fucking mask.
And I mean, it's based on this film. I think people would understand.
Yeah, there wasn't ever really real Nazi werewolves
Right,
that we know of.
That we know of. Well, I mean, and there are video games too, like Wolfenstein. They do the same thing with the Nazi experiments, and they're like creatures.
Although I don't know if
and
they're
they're trying to
werewolves
kill
in
them.
there. There probably
like
is. There
creatures.
probably is in Wolfenstein at some point.
But let's talk about this in closing. The budget for this film was just a mere $5.8 million, which is a lot more money in 1981, in all fairness. But at the box office, made $62 million, made 10 times its budget.
Yeah, I mean, that's 5.8 million. Yeah, that's pretty good, pretty decent for 1981. But think about all the special effects and whatnot.
Right.
That is, and yeah, this film fucking crushed when it came out. And it came out in like a sea of werewolf films that were coming out. The Howling, which was also worked on by Rick Baker. Right before this, he had to quit midway because it was becoming too alike, because he always had promised John Landis that he'd do this. So he took that film, so he quit midway through, and the Howling is another awesome werewolf film. But the Howling came out, Teen Wolf came out a few years after this.
Yep, with Michael J. Fox.
A bunch of other shitty werewolf movies came out, but this one is always, it's the top. If you're gonna make a werewolf movie, you can only hope. I mean, this one and maybe the 40 werewolf film, the Universal one. That's
London or a Werewolf in London, the 1935.
No, that's
the black and white one.
That's a different one.
Okay.
But the really famous werewolf, one that Universal did with like Frankenstein and stuff like that. That is very famous. But this is the first one to show a transformation.
Yeah.
The actual werewolf. And it's the first film, interesting enough, to do the fucking medicine cabinet scare. When someone's like in the medicine cabinet and they just think that something crazy just happened. They're like, oh my God, I'm fine. And then they close it and someone's behind them.
Yep.
This is the first movie to do that.
That's insane because it has been used so much since.
I don't think you can find a scary movie these days that does not have that gig in there anymore. Yeah. So it's crazy that you can track it down to, but that's such a good scare. That's a horrible scare now because it's coming every fucking time. But this was the very first one, the medicine, and it's
pretty impressive.
Pretty impressive because
it's a good little piece of history too.
Yeah, because everyone does that now.
Everyone.
Now it's almost like an homage.
Yep.
Because it's not even a scare anymore because everyone knows there's something in the mirror. But this is if you haven't seen it yet, this is a great October film as well for Halloween.
Absolutely.
Because it's scary and it's great. I love it.
Alrighty.
That's all I got
Is that
for
a
it.
review for
That's
it? All right. Well, that is our review for An American Werewolf in London. If you guys like what you're seeing here and you're watching on YouTube, please be sure to like this video, comment below, subscribe to the channel, hit that bell notification as we drop videos here every single day. If you'd like to find our podcast in audio format, you can find it on Spotify, iTunes, SoundCloud, Google Play, and Stitcher. Social media, Twitter, Seen It Podcast. Cash is on Twitter. That's just Cash. Instagram, Have You Seen It? Facebook, Have You Seen It Podcast. Thank you so much for watching and listening. My name is Mason Knight. That is Cash Kraus. And until next time.
Bye.